What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, talking today about the PlayStation 5, because for some reason I tried to build one. Now, over the course of the last couple months, there's been a bunch of curiosity about the PlayStation 5. What are the launch games going to be? What's the price? And also just things like, how is it going to look? Well, after the big reveal trailer, we finally got our first glimpse at the system itself, and a question that's been popping up is, that seems rather large, but how big exactly is it going to be? Now, a main thing that kind of spurned this is the fact that there is this leaked photograph that is supposedly from a Sony factory of somebody holding a prototype PlayStation 5, and it is a bit of a big boy. Now, what I've decided to do is, last night I stayed up till 2 a.m. for some reason comparing photographs and schematics to try and figure out the exact size, width, and depth of the system itself, and building my own out of a bunch of crafting foam. Now, the final result is not pretty, but let's just keep in mind two things. Number one, I am not a crafter. I don't make stuff very often. All I do is edit videos all day. And second of all, keep in mind that I have very tiny hands. The end of my arms kind of look like Princess Peach mitts. But now, are you ready for it? This, ladies and gentlemen, is the future of gaming. Yeah. Alright, this is the PlayStation 5. You can see I even managed to get these weird warped sides to it and stuff. But yes, this is in fact the PlayStation 5. Now, it is exactly 32 centimeters up, it is 9 centimeters deep, it is a pretty hefty beast, but the main thing I wanted to try and do today is actually compare it to other systems, because I own every console. That's kind of my weird forte, is that I like to collect consoles. So let's start off by comparing it to current tech. So what we have here is the PlayStation 4 Pro, which is already a system that's definitely large and is very, very heavy. Well, if we actually put it next to the PlayStation 5, you can see that mass-wise, the PlayStation 5 seems like it's going to be a little bit thicker and a little bit taller, but not necessarily a just astronomical amount. It's definitely still within the same ballpark. Now, just for some extra comparison here, let's put in, this is an Xbox One S. This is obviously the smaller version of the current gen Xbox. Now, this thing is actually pretty dang heavy. The Xbox Series X is very, very tightly packed together. I think that this is a good comparison of how the system is going to be big, but when we saw a lot of those early reveal shots, it made it seem like it was going to be gigantic. So there's been this photograph that's going around the internet that's gone viral a couple times that shows a comparison of a mock-up that's been photoshopped of the PlayStation 5 versus a bunch of other consoles, and I still feel like it is mostly accurate, but when you see the size in comparison, it's not quite as dramatic. Now, one of the main things I've seen people saying is comparing it to a Nintendo Switch. This is a Switch Mini, and I guess if we're just being completely clear, it is a little bit of a dramatic difference, but you're also trying to compare a handheld versus a giant, full-blown, next-gen tech machine. Now let's go back and try and compare this a little bit to some older stuff, like maybe the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360. Now, what we have here is the standard edition of the Xbox 360. Of course, I have my all-digital edition of the PlayStation 5. And now I have, this is the mini version they released of the PlayStation 3 for, I think, Destiny 2 or Destiny 1. This is where I feel like people are starting to make the biggest comparisons. I've seen a lot of photographs going around trying to Photoshop the different scales. In fact, one of the ways we know the exact measurements of the PlayStation 5 is because when you compare the disk drive and USB ports of these systems, you get a pretty clear example of just exactly how many inches this thing is. And when you see it side by side, I feel like you get a better idea of the fact that, yes, this is technically the biggest console ever made, at least in the last 10 years, now that we have mainstream systems, but it's not as big of a leap as I thought. When I saw a lot of those initial photographs, I completely assumed that this thing was going to be a freaking dummy thick system, when in actuality, it's just a decent step up. So my major concern when it came to the PlayStation 5 was definitely just the size, because I feel like bigger systems are definitely harder to handle, and I definitely don't have a lot of space. Because I have so many stupid collectibles and big old collector's editions and stuff, I'm very big about being space conscious, which is why I try and own almost nothing. I sleep on this couch right here where you saw me making this system. I try and keep everything incredibly compact. And when I initially saw that giant picture, I was afraid that it wouldn't even fit on my console shelves. But now that I have it here, now that I've had a chance to really sit down with the PlayStation 5, as close as we can currently tell, it's not as big as we thought. I still think that it's a big system. There's definitely no denying the fact that this is pretty large. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall and this thing's almost the size of my torso, but it's not so enormous that I feel like it's gonna freaking break your desk when you set it down. But what do you think of my PlayStation 5? Have you had a chance to watch the PlayStation 5 reveal? And what games are you most excited about? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. I do want to thank everybody who's been subscribing lately. I've been getting like 800 subscribers a day, which is absolutely bonkers. I'm trying to hit 200,000 by the end of the year, and honestly, you guys sharing stuff and smashing that like button really helps. So much love and big salute to you. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.